Special Issue Task Force. How can I help you? And back joining us in the studio for the latest in Special Issue Task Force. And today's a very special episode of the Special Issue Task Force. There's two specials in that sentence. Seyoung. Seyoung, hello to you.
Hello, SJ. Are you okay now?
Yes, Seyoung, do you feel bad now that you were making fun of me and bullying me last week when I was
No, it wasn't because
sick?
of me. I think you lost weight.
You're such
Did
a liar.
you?
I gained weight.
Really? You look very, very skinny today.
Oh my goodness. Guys, this
You
is
were already skinny, but
Guys, this is
you were
workplace
sick
bullying.
for the past few days.
Someone
and
record this. Someone record this. Someone record this. This is workplace
in Korean,
bullying.
we say you look 헬쓱하다.
No. Look at her laughing. Guys, this is workplace bullying. This is workplace bullying. I'm going to tattle on her. Oh my goodness.
Oopsie.
What?
Yes. I just to protect myself and my kids.
What?
You know, just like preventive measures.
What about it?
You know the not pour the alcohol. You know, like I tried to sanitize the microphone.
But I don't use that
we
microphone.
used. No, in the recording room.
In the recording? Oh.
Yes.
Oh, I forgot to sanitize.
Just a little
I
bit.
sanitized
just a
this.
little bit. Just a little bit. Like I tried to sanitize a little bit.
I don't know. Our producer, our producer doesn't lie.
The bottle? No.
Are you saying our
he
producer's a
didn't.
liar? Are you saying our producer's a liar? He doesn't
No.
lie.
Yeah, I used the whole bottle of the sanitizer.
Okay, then he was lying. He said half a bottle. He used the entire bottle. That's what it is.
He was trying to protect me. Thank you for
goodness.
being here.
I actually forgot about that. Thank you for doing that. I sanitized this area, and you sanitized the mouse too.
It wasn't because
everyone
I
else
thought
was-
you were dirty or something. Because it was just because to protect myself. And you know, I have two young kids, so flu is just going around. And yes,
She called me. She called me dirty. She called me dirty. Bullying more like a 0 on the scale. I don't know. That's like a 2.
2.
It's like a 2. A little bit more. And now she might be referred to the higher ups out there. Tomorrow marks 1 year. I can't believe it's been a year already since. I didn't think I was going to experience this in my lifetime.
Oh, me either. Who did? I think.
I mean, my dad experienced it, you know, back in the 70s and stuff like that. And I mean, and also in the 80s. But I don't think he thought that my generation would go through the emergency declaration.
That's right.
Of course, imposed by former President Yoon Suk-yeol on the night of December 3rd, 2024. And so we're going to talk about 1 year since, right? How did this even happen? What's happened since? And we're going to give you a sense of the timeline and the ongoing investigation. There's still trials that are happening, many other things that are happening. I mean, this is a ripple effect. We saw through this and the trials, all the corruptions, all the terrible things that were going on within the Yoon administration. First and foremost, do you remember where you were, what you were doing on December 3rd?
I was sleeping on that night. Like I went to bed at around like 9:30 p.m.
Oh my gosh.
So I missed it. Is it right to say that I missed it?
I mean-
missed that moment, historic moment?
No, it's good.
But next morning, I was very, very shocked. I remember that day vividly.
I mean, it was so short, luckily, that you didn't even know it was
Yes.
happening. Again, I thought it was fake news when my wife told me. But
The whole nation was in shock.
Oh, it was-
not only the South Korea, but the entire world watching South Korea.
Yeah, I mean, we're at the
was
center
in
of
shock.
spotlight.
Yes.
That's right. So let's talk about December 3rd, 2024.
Yeah, so here's what happened on that night on December 3rd, 2024. The then administration, completely out of blue, declared a nationwide martial law citing anti-state forces. And the most shocking thing was that the first places the military was deployed to were none other than the National Election Commission and the National Assembly. And it later became clear that the purpose was to detain and effectively kidnap lawmakers, the very people who hold the decision-making power. And although martial law was lifted within a few hours, which might make it seem poorly executed, the image of fully armed soldiers rushing into the assembly with helicopters breaking windows and attempting to cut the power is still chilling. And lawmakers, upon hearing the news, rushed to the National Assembly and managed to to enter while avoiding the soldiers' blockades, even climbing over walls in some cases. And most of all, brave citizens from all different regions gathered in Yeouido to confront the military and police.
That's right. And that very moment that people got in the way of the soldiers, that brief moment, the few minutes that they were able to block them was the big difference maker. And the lawmakers got into the National Assembly and voting down the martial law.
And I also want to touch upon this. Many of the young soldiers, unlike in the past, seem to focus more on defense rather than carrying out unlawful and unjust orders, a detail that later drew significant attention as well.
Now, you could tell the soldiers were like, first of all, there were a lot of confused soldiers. They just said, I think some people were saying like they thought like there was an invasion from North Korea.
Right.
And then they went onto the helicopter thinking that they're going to go to DMZ or something like that. And they land there at the National Assembly. They're like, what?
Right.
And so you can tell that they weren't really...
like actively.
Yeah, because they knew it was wrong, right? I mean, that's the difference between, again, the 70s and 80s and 2024. And everything unfolded extremely quickly after that.
Yes, the first major political response was an attempt to impeach the President Yoon, but here's a critical moment many people outside Korea might not know. On December 7th, the first impeachment vote failed, not because lawmakers disagreed, but because 105 members of the Conservative People Power Party boycotted the vote, preventing it from taking place. And this sparked massive public backlash, emergency rallies, and intense pressure on the National Assembly.
We have one of our listeners, QWZKY, 8577. This was my first trip to Korea. We actually booked a hotel to extend our stay, but decided to just leave the next day because of this. Hello, by the way. I believe this is my first message here. I've been listening for a while now. Way to ruin a vacation.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, no one expected this to happen. I'm sure you didn't expect this to happen. So the impeachment only moved forward on the second attempt, right?
Yeah, exactly. And with public pressure mounting, lawmakers reconvened a week later, and on the second vote, the impeachment motion passed. But the process in the Constitutional Court took longer than some expected, sparking rumors and public anxiety about the outcome. And according to former acting Chief Justice Moon Young-bae, the extra time was necessary to draft a legally airtight decision, ensuring that no further objections or appeals could arise. And eventually, on April 4th, 2025, the Constitutional Court ruled unanimously, removing former President Yoon Suk-yeol from office.
I mean, there was all these things, like there's like certain conservative Constitutional Court justices, and they're probably going to vote down on it. No, but it was so blatantly unconstitutional what happened that it was, but part of us were like, but we've seen all these.
What's going on?
No, but part of us were going like, because we saw like unlikely things happen, like what's going to happen?
Right.
And I think there was a sense of sort of suspense. There was some nervous air.
That's right.
In the air. Right. And just yesterday, we learned about a major new development, something that directly reshapes how we understand those chaotic hours.
Yes, a very significant revelation. A key military figure, Cho Ji-ho, who was the Commissioner General of the National Police Agency at the time, delivered explosive testimony yesterday. According to new reports, former President Yoon Suk-yeol directly ordered military commanders to round up and arrest opposition lawmakers who had crossed into the National Assembly chamber to block martial law-related procedures. So pundits say this new testimony could become one of the most decisive pieces of evidence in the ongoing trials.
You know, it's the definition of anti-state, right? Enemies. I think Disobedient Spacewell was also saying, did North Korea attack? No.
Right.
That's what a lot of people are thinking. I have my colleagues over with the Milwaukee Brewers over in the U.S. messaging me saying, I heard North Korea invaded South Korea. And I was like, what are you talking about? Then why was the emergency martial law declared? I was like, I don't want to get into it.
Anti-state forces refer to those lawmakers who are not favorable to Yoon administration.
Yes, and so it has nothing to do with North Korea, what it was. So and soon after all this, right, and all these things that happened, we had a snap election with the presidential elections, right?
The election brought in Lee Jae-myung, who campaigned on restoring democratic norms and fully uncovering what happened during the martial law incident. And after the new administration took office, 3 different special prosecutor teams were launched to investigate the chain of command, potential collusion, and whether key officials abused the state power.
No, definitely so. I mean, Mark says, were Koreans scared? Were the children scared? Well, children were fast asleep.
Right.
It was very late. And
I was one of those
yes,
children.
she was sleeping. But a lot of us spent the entire night following the news and trying to figure out what was happening. I was following now President Lee Jae-myung, who live streamed himself climbing over the National Assembly wall and all that stuff. And I was like, there's a very good chance I probably can't go to work tomorrow.
Oh.
And so, but luckily it ended so quickly, so to speak,
Right.
That
If it
very
hadn't
little
been
impact.
lifted, we weren't probably were not able to broadcast live today.
No. Yeah, I mean, who knows, right?
Yes.
Would the emergency martial law have extended till this year? And I'm out of work. No, the Culture Inc. would be out. You know, there would be no Culture Inc., right? Who knows what's going to happen? But let's talk about the investigations, right? Several document names keep popping up. You have the 노상원 notebook, right? The so-called
Yes.
notebook from 노상원. 여인영, who is another key figure in the
Right.
investigation. There's a memo. What exactly are these?
Oh, this became some of the most discussed documents of the year. According to police and investigation reports, a notebook seized from former intelligence commander Do Sang-won reportedly contained detailed plans, names of lawmakers and officials, and instruction of possible arrest or blockade. And it is said that 여인영 memo from a former senior intelligence official was also seized, which allegedly recorded internal discussions and directives related to martial law planning.
There was even, again, some testimony throughout a couple of trials that we had recently saying that former President Yoon had ordered to shoot him and
That's
stuff like
right.
that, right?
That's
To all the opponents. And even a former PPP leader who was kind of, mixed in a bit of controversy with the Yoon as well. And several high-profile trials are underway as we speak, speaking of which.
Yes, multiple officials have been indicted. One of the highest profile cases involves former Prime Minister Han Duck-soo, whom prosecutors say played a central coordinating role. And they recently requested a 15-year prison sentence for him, arguing that he knowingly enabled the unconstitutional mobilization of government agencies. And prosecutors have also sought the arrest of former ruling party floor leader Chu Kyung-ho, alleging that he obstructed the December 3rd parliamentary vote to lift the emergency decree by pulling lawmakers out of the chamber after receiving a call from former President Yoon. And we'll have to wait and see whether Chu will be detained or if the arrest warrant will be dismissed.
We got so much to talk about in the 1 year since the emergency martial law declaration. Guys, we're going to take a short song break here. This is Espa with Whiplash. Ben Song says SJ could have started his show where President Yoon did this and that in the beginning of the show because we're doing
Oh, yes.
Korea Now at the time. I'd be like, the great President Yoon has declared the almighty emergency martial
have
law.
you heard of the term 땡전 뉴스? Like back in the days under 전두환
Yes,
administration. Like
That's exactly what you said. Like
yes.
President Jun's era.
Yeah, right.
That's
right.
Probably would have been what it is.
All of the headlines were full of news related to 전두환.
Yes. Yes. And there would have been everything related to him and
Praising him.
the almighty leader. He might change his title. He probably would not be president anymore, the great leader or something.
Right.
But speaking of which, there is the big question of who really was the leader, because now with all the allegations coming out, it's not just the power abuse during the administration of former President Yoon Suk-yeol,
Right.
but you also have former ex-First Lady Kim Gun-hee. A lot of things coming out because of the trials following the emergency martial law, the failed martial law, the Constitutional Court trial, multiple investigation looking into political corruption, misuse of state resources, even the handling of Korea's cultural heritage.
Oh, that's very shocking.
These questions are resurfacing as we now approach the first anniversary of the emergency decree. What do we know now? What remains under investigation?
What investigators have uncovered over the past year paints a picture of a presidency that allegedly blurred the boundaries between public authority and personal privilege. Some allegations have been on the table for years, like stock manipulation, pressure for appointments, interference in candidate selection. But what has shaken the public most recently are the revelations about the use of national heritage site and state-owned cultural assets.
Guys, brace for this. This is wild.
Several facts have now been confirmed through official records submitted to the National Assembly and disclosed during the Special Counsel investigation. First, in September 2023, former First Lady Kim Gun-hee visited Keunjeongjeon Hall at Gyeongbokgung Palace, a restricted area closed to the general public. And according to National Heritage Administration's own records, she briefly sat on the royal throne, the Ojwa, which is an artifact of the highest historical significance. And this confirmation came in October 2025 when the agency submitted documents to lawmakers acknowledging the event. And second, investigators confirmed that she visited other protected heritage sites, including Jongmyo Shrine, under circumstances that bypassed standard access procedures. And these visits were neither part of an official state program nor publicly announced at the time. And because of these confirmed visits, the Special Counsel expanded its inquiry to determine whether any state protocols, laws, or preservation rules were violated.
We're looking at a person who really, really believed that she was the queen.
Queen.
I mean, I know some, I guess,
But
supporters.
she called herself like nothing.
When there was the question,
아무것도
right?
아닌 사람?
Yeah, no, if you're not nothing, I don't think you'll be wanting to sit in the throne. And there's also a lot of evidence to show that she has been ordering ministers to do certain things and all that
Right.
stuff. Now, this is where it gets wild now. There's the accusation of misuse of cultural heritage.
Yes, investigators say they are examining whether Kim used the state heritage spaces as if they were private venues and whether any cultural items were taken out or handled without following legal procedures. Some witnesses have described behavior that sounded like personal enjoyment of royal spaces, even playing queen, like you said, as some commentators put it. But for now, we are waiting for a legal ruling on this matter. And still, her previous behaviors have already raised serious questions about privilege, oversight, and preservation ethics.
And this happening alongside other corruption probes involving the former First Lady, right?
Yes, the heritage controversy is only one part of a much larger legal puzzle. Like mentioned, Kim Gun-hee has already been formally detained in a separate corruption investigation, which includes allegations related to stock manipulation and bribery. And those investigations predate the martial law case, but the recent palace visit-related disclosures have broadened the public's understanding of the couple's use of power, misuse of power, I should say. And as for former President Yoon, prosecutors and the special counsel have argued that these patterns, political interference, misuse of government entities, and personal influence over state institutions are relevant background for understanding the events surrounding the emergency decree.
I don't understand how a person can be so high on power that you go beyond what's already given to you
Right.
as the president, as the first lady. But you mentioned saying government institutions, there's been talks of internal movements within the military, the intelligence service, and even the prosecution during their tenure. What do investigators believe happened there?
Well, this is where things get even more complex. While not all details are public, what the special counsel has said is this: they suspect patterns of coordinated behavior across parts of the military, the National Intelligence Service, and the prosecution during the lead up to the December 3rd martial law declaration and in other contexts. The concern is that senior officials may have acted or been pressured to act in ways that favor the president's political interest. And again, these are ongoing investigations, but the possibility that multiple institutions may have been influenced raises deep structural questions about institutional independence and democratic safeguards at the same time.
For the prosecution, the prosecutors be allegedly involved in this is wild.
Right.
And if you might be wondering, how is that possible? Well, if you remember, before Yoon was
chief.
president, he was the prosecutor general.
Right.
Right. He has his connections. And there's long been arguments over too much power to the prosecution, which is why
Right.
now this is what the current administration is trying to do is cut some power off
That's right.
from the prosecutors. And now tomorrow marks the 1 year since the martial law declaration. Trials are gaining momentum.
Right.
What should we be watching in the coming months?
Well, there are three major threads to watch. First, the special counsel's findings. More classified documents and testimony are expected to be made public. Second, the separate corruption trials. And third, the broader political impact, particularly the consequences that the arrest and trials of key political figures involved in the martial law declaration may bring.
It's going to be major. It's going to be major. I think
Yes.
next year when everything
January
comes
and
out,
February,
it's going to
yes.
be big things here. We'll continue to talk about 1 year since the martial law declaration. But first, this is 부석순 featuring 이영지 with Fighting 해야지. We've been talking about 1 year since the emergency martial law declaration, and thankfully the short-lived declaration. And
Still,
of
it
course,
feels like yesterday.
no, it does. It really does. And again, I mean, I couldn't believe what happened. I told my wife, I was like, stop watching fake news. I don't know what you're doing these days, but it can't happen.
You don't trust your wife?
No, because it was
Listen to your
unbelievable.
wife.
Everybody said that. Everybody said that.
Do you have some trust issues?
Yes, I got
That's what
trust
you
issues.
said to Angela.
Well, oh,
Angela, do you have some trust issue? That's what you said.
You have trust issues too. You poured an entire bottle of sanitizer. That's trust issues too. In part 3, we're going to look at the political aftershocks, how parties are responding, how public opinion is shifting, and how the new administration is positioning itself 1 year later. Let's start off with the political divide.
Sure.
Because, again, despite it being obvious that an emergency martial law declaration was unbelievable, the reaction from different parties have been very striking.
They really have. 1 year after the illegal martial law declaration, Korea's politics is split over how the country should confront this chapter. On one side, leaders in the Democratic Party and the broader progressive bloc are calling for what they describe as a full reckoning, and that means a complete investigation, accountability for everyone involved, and a public commitment that no administration can ever attempt something like this again. But the response from the Conservative People Power Party has been far more complicated. The party leadership, including several senior lawmakers, remains closely aligned with far-right groups that supported the previous administration, those who support so-called Yoon Again campaign, protest, should I say. Because of that alliance, they've rejected calls to issue a formal apology or acknowledging wrongdoing related to the martial law declaration. But there is a visible split inside the PPP itself, too. Some lawmakers are openly urging the party to break away from what they call the coup faction, to apologize sincerely and to rebuild public trust. So now we can say the PPP is facing internal turmoil as well.
Guys, there's a difference between being a conservative.
Yes.
Right. And nowadays, I question what a conservative is, because the definition of a conservative has been just blown out of, we don't even know the real definition of this. Even if you are a conservative, you can clearly say that the emergency martial law declaration was wrong.
Right.
There's nothing wrong with that. However, that's not the case anymore, because we've had PPP lawmakers who said, look, I think I still support the PPP and the Conservative Party. However, what we did was wrong. What the emergency marshal, and they're throwing trash at her, the supporters of Yoon. I mean, it's just, there is no common sense anymore.
No.
There is no common sense anymore. And speaking of which, let's talk about how the public reacted to all of this.
Well, public opinion has shifted significantly over the past year. Surveys show that a majority of Koreans, including many moderate conservatives, believe the truth must be fully revealed and that political actors involved in the martial law attempt should face consequences. And there's also growing demand for deeper reforms in the military, intelligence agencies, and even the presidency itself.
Let's talk about the new administration now. Because of what Yoon did, we had a snap election. There was a sense amongst pundits that maybe Yoon wasn't going to complete his... There was a lot of signs as to show that he was not really doing his job well.
Right.
And approval rating was
A lot of
dipping
failures,
fast.
yes.
Yeah, a lot of failures. A lot of things were going bad. The economy was in shock. You
Right.
see all this stuff happening, and but no one knew that it was going to be through his martial law declaration that eventually he'll be impeached, and we have a
Right.
snap election. Tomorrow is 1 year anniversary. How is the current ruling administration now, the
Right.
Democratic Party of Korea, marking the day?
Yes, the presidential office is not holding any large commemorative ceremonies or issuing a dramatic presidential speech. And officials explained that December 3rd is a day when citizens and the National Assembly, not the presidency, should receive recognition because they were the ones who ultimately stopped the illegal martial law from succeeding. And instead, President Lee will hold a press briefing with 14 journalists tomorrow. And there he is expected to highlight the resilience of what he calls K-democracy, the idea that Korea's democratic institutions, even under enormous stress, ultimately held firm.
There's a deeper question people keep asking, though. Again, Korea went through, as I mentioned before, in the past 2 military coups.
Right.
They were successful. It was a different situation back then. How did something like this still happen in 2024?
That's a very painful part, actually. We had one in 1961 done by Park Jong-hee and another one in 1979 with Chun Do-han. But experts point to several underlying issues: lingering militaristic culture in parts of the armed forces. And even though Korea is a democratic state, some hierarchical norms and Cold War era mindsets still exist within segments of the military and security agencies. That's the problem. And experts also emphasized weak constitutional education among key officials. Many officers and bureaucrats receive little structured training on democratic limits, constitutional duty, or civilian oversight. And the enormous power of the presidency is another problem. And a deeply divided political environment is also a social issue we have to deal with. And most importantly, the ultimate goal of pointing out these problems and solving these problems is to remove the risk of a similar abuse in the future. It should never happen again.
No, it shouldn't. And again, I mentioned that it was unbelievable that in this century, in this era, in this decade, that something like this would happen. But on the flip side, and this is one of the reasons why I stress the importance of learning history.
Right.
We learned what happened in, I think, with Park Chung-hee, it
1979 one?
was 71.
1961.
He declared emergency, national emergency first.
Right.
That was
With
in
his fellow
71. And then
officers.
72 was
Yes.
the martial law
Right.
afterwards. But we know through history what was wrong. What Chun did was wrong. We learned this in history. And that's why the very soldiers who
Acted
learned
differently. Yes.
that this was wrong also, and it also did help that not too long ago, 12/12, what is it, Seoul? Okay, Seoul. That movie came out. We kind of knew what was
Right.
bad.
That
and
was
so
why.
I think the military also reacted a little bit different from the emergency martial law. And so thankfully...
That also highlights the power of culture.
yeah,
The movie
yes.
played a very big role,
Interestingly, I watched it.
shaping perspective of young people.
Yes, yes. And then the young
Yes.
people went out to the streets and, fought for democracy,
You
called for
didn't watch
democracy.
that movie?
No, I watched it
You
twice.
watched twice? Wow.
I watched it twice. That movie is great. I mean, it's good if you like history. But again, 1 year, ladies and gentlemen, and we still have much to see, the repercussions of the emergency martial law and the trials that are still taking place. Hae-young, thank you very much for a wrap-up of the December 3rd martial law declaration a year ago. Have a fantastic rest of your week. We'll see you again next week.
Thank you.
And sending her out of the studio, let's take a listen to a song from Day 6, Time of Our Life. 한 페이지가 될 수 있게.